Being and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even 100,000 million kalpas, having it to see and listen to remember and accept. I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. Good evening, everybody. Oh, maybe we need to turn something off somewhere. Oh, I should turn this off.
Somebody needs to turn something off.
Well, no, I should have that so people can hear on the back. Let's see. Now you should mute your computer and then hand me the microphone. I think.
If you use the, I think we can we hear in here?
You hear okay?
Yes.
Okay, we won't worry about all that. Okay. Yeah, maybe we just need to check each time, because one of the things that was super exciting about last week, besides being sort of hyper-stimulating, having a full Zendo, was two of our dear members who have significant hearing loss told me for the first time in years they could hear the talk, so it was worth doing all the gear. But if we'd, yeah, isn't that great? Yeah. You know, I mean, you don't realize, you know, right? You don't realize, yeah. But if we can all hear, we don't need to turn on all the gear, so that's fine too. Just be responsive. Yeah. And hi, Barto's online. Hey, good to see you. It's been a minute. She's waving to us. Well, yeah, it was exciting last week. We had a full house. I guess it was sitting room only, but actually this is nicer. They can all come back next week, but we can catch our breath. We can keep kind of tuning up how we practice here. Which way do we bow? Which way do we walk? We can keep sort of feeling our way. And yeah, it's just, I think I didn't take a full breath that whole evening a week ago. It's just like too exciting, you know? Yeah. So this is nice. Thanks for being here and not bringing your friends this week. Next week. So our tradition teaches that there are 6 core practices for bodhisattvas. I mean, there's all kinds of lists, but 6 core practices for bodhisattvas. These are the famous paramita practices, practices that go beyond themselves. And that these practices are help bodhisattvas develop towards Buddhahood, and are also the main ways that bodhisattvas help other beings. And I think in this universe that we're talking about, we are both the bodhisattvas and the suffering beings, you know, so we have to also help ourselves. And I was thinking these 6 practices are very much in evidence from the existence of this building that we're sitting in. That this is a paramita project here. I want to especially focus on 4 of them, which are just so obviously needed in abundance, and we must have been practicing these, or this couldn't have happened. We would have given up long ago, you know, sold the building back, or who knows what, you know. Or just gotten all so mad at each other that we just all quit the Sangha and nothing ground to a halt, you know. That is possible. That can happen. It does happen. So anyway, here's the list of 6, whether they're old friends or you're new to these. Good friends to meet and remember. The first is generosity. Dana paramita is the Sanskrit. Second is ethics. Sila paramita. Shila paramita. It's like a soft sha. The third is patience. Shanti paramita. The fourth is energy. Virya paramita. The fifth is concentration. Jhana paramita. And the 6th is wisdom, prajna paramita. So there's a ton to explore about these. And there's actually several fairly recent, like last 5 years recent, really good books on them. by two great teachers in our lineage and a really great Buddhist studies scholar. And there's many other books besides. Very well-known topic. And so much to it. Each one of these you could study for a lifetime. So I just want to take a quick brush through them, especially like I said, for them, and reflect a little bit about their presence and their activity and their challenges as we've built and completed this building, remodeled, I guess. Such a big remodel, it feels like we built it. So number one is pretty easy to relate to. Generosity. Oh my goodness, huh? This is just like a vibrating field of generosity being here. Astounding flood of generosity, right? Our generous donors, the almost unbelievable number of volunteer hours. Good thing we didn't try to add them up. We would have blown our minds. That have put into this going way back, back at least to the campaign committee when we started our capital campaign in 2021. And continuing through this very afternoon, people were in here painting, like this brown line made it from there all the way to there, right before you got here. And Friday, Saturday, it'll probably connect. And maybe Saturday evening when we'll have a big opening ceremony, we'll take all the tape off really quick and sweep before people arrive, and say, welcome, it's all done. So how generous is that? People setting aside big chunks of their lives, devoting themselves to being here, whether it was, you made it to a work party is amazing, just being here tonight is amazing, or you've done some hundreds, thousands of hours. Oh my goodness. And not just us, but the generosity of many professionals and officials who, although, yes, it was their job, have almost to a person, maybe everybody involved that we interacted with has been so generous. I was just talking to our really kind and generous contractor this afternoon, and he's gotten to be friends with the main building inspector who was assigned to this project, and he talked a lot about how generous that guy was. Jonathan is his name. And how much Jonathan sort of worked with our contractor to facilitate getting through the final approvals, which after feeling like totally stuck in the mud, suddenly was all done. It's like that, a week and a half ago, the day before we were last here. So there's been a lot of generosity here. So this practice is called generosity, but each of these practices invites some depth beyond, deeper and more sort of complete, with maybe some layers we don't usually think about when we talk about these words in sort of everyday speech. So regular generosity is certainly here, certainly true, giving gifts of time, gifts of money, gifts of kindness. But the paramita part in dana paramita, in generosity, you could say generosity beyond generosity or deep generosity, is also looking at the kind of underlying situation, the underlying sort of universe in which generosity is happening, and sort of re-understanding what's going on there. That in conventional generosity, we tend to think, I'm over here. In this particular case, I have more resources, time, money, expertise, than this person over there who looks like she's in need. So I help her. Here is the gift I'm giving. And there's kind of a separateness there, right? I'm here, you're there. And that often works just fine, no biggie, until it doesn't, right? And every one of us had the experience of trying to give something to somebody and they didn't like it. What? How could that be, Somehow it seemed condescending or overbearing, or it wasn't the thing they wanted. Did we even ask, So there's something to that separateness that actually puts the brakes on the real possibilities of generosity. So dana paramita, Buddhist generosity, is as I practice giving, can I use this as a practice of going beyond this sense of separation, this sense of me over here, you over there? That actually it's just the flowing of natural generosity, universe giving, and it's receiving and giving are no different, and giving and receiving. It's just this amazing kind of flow of energy, a non-differentness, non-separateness, Sometimes we use the word emptiness, which is a little confusing sounding, that the giver and the gift and everything, the receiver, are empty of any kind of separate anything, you know. And that there's a trauma, right? There's a trauma from separation. It's our kind of root trauma, and our whole life is a journey to try to reconnect, right? So these practices are also practices of reconnection and healing. So there's a lot to it, you know, if you think about it. Generosity is an expression of that interconnectedness, that interbeing. And that also makes it much more natural, right? Like I don't have to decide, you know, oh, I guess I'll give you that, you know. Of course, we already have it together, you know. Like the classic example here is your left hand gets a splinter, and your right hand isn't like, I guess I'll give you the tweezers. I don't know. You should really have your own pair of tweezers. Were you paying attention? You're clumsy. You know, no, you just take it out, right? So that we're more like two hands and one body than separate people is the paramita, the going beyond part. So that's so evidently here. And I think we had, of course, a mix of conventional generosity, sometimes with a little stickiness. It happens, right? We're human. And just tremendous, vast amounts of this deep dana paramita, this generosity beyond generosity. Just giving freely out of love and joy. And a sense here, I think, too, of a bigger purpose, you know. I think that helped us a lot, actually. If we just thought we're doing this for our meditation club, I think we wouldn't have gotten anywhere. So we had some sense of something much bigger than just the people in this room or the full room last week. You know, it's not just for us, right? It's for the greater community. It's for the people that come after us. I was thinking about that, like that's part of the generosity of this is 100 years from now, we hope, you know, someone will be wandering around in Bellingham and say, look at that, it's Zen Buddhist Center. I think I'll go there. And they won't have any idea of us, you know, we'll be long gone. Maybe at like the 50th or the 100th anniversary, they'll tell old stories, you know, or produce a little book. Maybe you'll end up a little picture in the book, but eventually that book will be lost, you know. And they won't know us, but we gave them that, right? So we gave a huge gift to people that we can't ever meet, right? So that's dana paramita. Isn't that beautiful? We hope, you know. The second practice, I think so clearly here, no question about this one, is patience practice, right? Kshanti paramita. And here, just like with dana, with generosity, the sort of everyday meaning of patience is perfectly apt. It took time. We just passed the 3rd anniversary of purchasing the building. Did you know that? And finally, we're in here, you know. And of course, everybody says it takes longer than you think, and you're like, yeah, I know, and then it really takes longer than you think. Oh my gosh. So we really had to be persistent and patient. Our contractor is a really pretty good estimator, actually. But his estimate, well, he didn't know that we were doing so much, I think, at first. So his original estimate was a 6-month construction, you know, cycle. And he started in November. So we should have been done at the end of May, according to that, and here it is at the end of August. And so, yeah, takes time. And I've been kind of public about how impatient I got last month and the month before. I was like, okay, I'm going to practice the building now. And all the leaders was like, Tim, no permit, hello. Can wait a little longer. Remember your practice? No, I want to get in there. I had all kinds of good reasons. But now we're here. So there's conventional patience. And sometimes conventional patience, though, it's a little limited, right? It has this quality of like, again, separation. I'm over here putting up with this nonsense until it's the way I want it, right? And then I'm done with patience. Good, you know, I was patient. So this deeper patience is more about looking deeply at what's going on here. What is this feeling that we call impatience? Where is it coming from? What are its causes? How am I creating it, you know? To stop just sort of externalizing it all, you know, it's the building department's fault or something like that. And deep patience is deeply pointing to just the most fundamental point in all of Buddhism, right? We can't get away from this point, and nor should we. The Buddha expressed it as the Four Noble Truths, that the minute you want something to be other than it is, you're going to suffer. It's pretty simple. And yet we forget that and get annoyed at somebody else or something else, or argue for something, and may take a little sidestep around our values a little bit to get what we want, sooner. Whether that's cutting in line or breaking occupancy laws or whatever. So deep patience is really taking us right back to that, right? Right back to who is the one who wants, who is the one who's desiring or averse to something, who is the one who's not really accepting things as they are. And so the deep patience is freedom, to deeply understand that, to work with it directly, to breathe with it, to feel that little knot in your stomach or your shoulders or wherever it hangs out that doesn't want it to be this way, or doesn't want that other person to be the way that you think they are. And of course it gets complicated fast because we're humans, and mistakes are made, right? I don't know how many decisions we made creating this building. Hundreds? North of 1,000, probably, Not all of those were the best decision, no question, right? And we had sort of a system of who made those decisions, which more or less worked most of the time, and sort of a loose agreement about when this group consults with that group or the whole Sangha. And some things we did a lot of process around, some things were like, it's that one, go, And so people got impatient with each other. That definitely happened, and wanted different things to be decided upon or done in a different order. And why are you doing that? I'm really annoyed at you. That's not the right way to do it. And so on and so forth. But that is really rich, right? That is the practice. And we have this really rich kind of complex moment of like trying to figure out, well, how do we meet this moment? A couple of people are a little bit at knots, at loggerheads here. Is it about my own exploration and seeing my own reactivity and doing my own work and letting it go? Is that probably always part of it? Is it about some sort of organizational change or improvement? We need a better process for deciding these things. We need to have a more clear agreement about when so-and-so consults with such and so, and we need a way to test it out and then decide together, And of course, as the 6, 8, 9, 10 months of construction dragged on, it kind of gets harder and harder to slow it down. Like, So patience is rich, right? Where's there room for improvement, and where is there need to be room for just letting go, right? And it's really hard to discern which is which in any given moment. So we experiment. We take it a little too far this way or that, we hold back too much or we overdo it that much. And thank goodness we're in it together, huh? Thank goodness we're in this together. And we have this shared commitment to awakening, this shared commitment to kindness, the shared commitment to these 6 practices. And if something gets out of wonk, I hope sooner or later we work it out. We work it out. Maybe with some little improvement in process, or maybe it was just like that was an oops. We got through it. Or you think that was an oops, and I don't think it's an oops, and that's where we ended up, Let's move on. So patience is a lot. Third paramita I want to talk about is the paramita of energy. Virya paramita. We needed a lot of energy to do this. Norman Fisher's book on the precepts calls this one enthusiastic energy. And I think that's true. We had a lot of enthusiasm. We kept going, Reb Anderson, another teacher in our lineage, calls it heroic effort. And I don't really use the word hero usually, so I've been enjoying, Reb's book is full of this, he calls these the heroic practices, and this one's heroic effort. And that's nice, yeah, we're kind of like little heroes in our own drama, aren't we? Like, yes, you're my hero, Thank you for painting that. So we had to dig deep sometimes into our energy reserves to keep going, work party after work party after work party, and suddenly there's 5 more emails about another work party. And we had to learn when to take breaks, individually and collectively. We had to learn how to pace ourselves, and there were times a few of us pushed it too hard and we suffered. That's how it goes. We tried to be kind to each other when somebody went a little bit off the rails, because you could see their energy just hit bottom. And again, I think just with like generosity and the energy and the patience, right, it's all of a piece. And again, that sense of a greater purpose, right? Like, I'm tired of this now. I wish it was further along. I just got annoyed a little bit with so-and-so. But you know what? I'm going back. I'm going back. We need this temple. The world needs this temple. This isn't just a thing, It's something bigger than that. Yeah, and here we are, this temple for Northwest Washington. This temple actually is kind of strengthening the loose tapestry of North American Zen centers, And many of my colleagues in these other Zen centers, our colleagues are very excited for us, We'll see a couple of them on Saturday night. So that did help our energy. And Virya Paramita, again, the sense of not like my energy, right? But the energy, right? The energy, the collective energy, the energy of the universe, if you will. The energy that I can't even fully understand, but I can be a channel for, and a conduit of, an expression of, as best I can. And all this works better when our minds are more stable, right? And the little bits of trouble that can happen, I've been mentioning a little bit, is when our minds are unstable, are destabilized. So one more paramita I want to talk about is concentration, jhana paramita. So that's stabilizing the mind, having a stable mind. And it's just interesting, the word jhana in this one that's translated as concentration is also the same exact word as the Chinese character chan, which became the Japanese pronunciation of that character, Zen. So this is the Zen paramita, concentration paramita. And it doesn't just mean meditation, although obviously meditation is a huge causal factor to support our steadiness of concentration. But it's kind of talking a little bit about attention and mind. So we know that the attention can be focused or distracted, right? Focused or distracted. But our conventional talk about attention, kind of what we were told in school, which wasn't much about attention besides like pay attention, right? That was our entire instruction on how to manage our attention. Somebody yelling at us, pay attention, which leads to a certain kind of way of being, right? But that attention, and I think what's interesting about that kind of pay attention, that really narrow task-focused attention, is it is stable, right? When you're focused on your thing, your mind is stable. But what our practices help us learn is there's another kind of stable attention that's not narrow, it's broad, right? It's open. So that's what this paramita is about, a broad, open, stable attention. Responsive, not as easily kind of ruffled. It's not rigid, right? It has some flow and some give to it, right? It's like an equanimity practice, like, okay. And so that kind of attention steadies the mind, that kind of awareness, that kind of concentration steadies the mind. And then it's more possible to be present through a long committee meeting or a long work day, or when 17,000 emails hit your inbox, and okay, how do I meet this now? And if I can meet it in that way, like a little more stable, so much, it's supportive of energy, patience, generosity, all of them, right? See, they're all totally interconnected in these kind of ways. So those are 4 of the 6 I think are just so obviously like in the walls, in the floor. Generosity, patience, energy, and concentration, or stability might be a better word for that one, stability. stability of mind. But the other two are always interwoven as well, so let me just mention those briefly. The second of the six, which I skipped over, is Shila Paramita. And this is ethics. This is paying attention to our behavior throughout our lives. And this is expressed in our practice with Bodhisattva precepts, right? This list of guidelines that many of us have made formal commitments to. Not that we don't forget a few of them from time to time, but then we recommit, right? We recommit. And so, yeah, it's ethical to be generous, right? And to be patient, to have good energy. And when we aren't ethical, when we take shortcuts or are not fully honest or, subvert something or, in our confusion cause a little bit of harm, then we're diminishing all these great qualities, right? Then these great qualities can't flow and work nearly as well. So how we actually live and how we hold ourselves, our bearing, our comportment, it's just really integral. It's not just being a good person. It's the sort of expression of the vehicle through which all these can flow more fully. So that's ethics, Shila Paramita. And then the very last one, number 6 on the list, is wisdom, Prajna Paramita. And we're super big fans of this. It's in our liturgy. We just chanted that a couple of times there in the service. We chanted a whole text that was all about it, actually, didn't we? The Heart Sutra. Except we did it in Sino-Japanese, so maybe you didn't recognize it. So this is the wisdom that sees the deeper ground, right? This is the wisdom that isn't only dazzled by the surfaces and by our opinions and by what we tend to think out of habit, right? This is the wisdom that helps us go deep and see the interconnectedness of everything. The wisdom of really feeling the natural flow of reality. And then it may seem like we worked really hard to build this temple, which is true, but the temple also just unfolded in the way it needed to. So this is the wisdom of our temple building paramita practice. So that's what I came up with to say tonight. Yeah, it's a good list, huh? Want to hear the list again? Generosity, Dana Paramita. Ethical living, Shila Paramita. Patience, Kshanti Paramita. Energy or effort, Virya Paramita. Stability or concentration, Jhana Paramita. And wisdom, Prajna Paramita. Do you have any thoughts or questions about all that? How do you see all these having occurred and continuing to occur? Right? It's not like over now. Okay, good. Now we're done with those practices. Let's we can move on. No, we're just getting started, right? And we made it this far, so now we can express them in more kind of the formal Zen practice ways, but also in all of our activities and programs, and also we very much hope more and more contributions to the greater community too, in connection with the greater community. We already made a sort of tentative first connection with a project just down the street providing transitional housing, so that's cool. Yeah, thoughts, noticings? How do these practices show up for you? Whether you were here all the time or doing something else. You were building your own temple. Mm-hmm.
Don't know if I need to bow or raise my hand or what the is.
Let's go for it, Dev.
Okay. I was curious as you were talking about ethics and wisdom, where that lives.
Where it lives.
Is it like your hara center?
Mm-hmm.
Is it your heart?
Can I just say yes? Where does it live? Yeah, your heart, your body, your words, your listening, your presence, your mind, yeah, and then the idea of mind in Buddhism is mind isn't just your brain, right? It's a much sort of bigger field of awareness, and mind and heart, they use the same Chinese character to point to mind or heart or both of them together. Yeah, where does it live? Yeah, what do you say, Bob? Where does it
Paramitas
live?
seem very relational, so
Hmm.
perhaps they sort of live between us.
Oh, yeah, what good, wise point, yeah. We do tend to think, yeah, I know, I just gave a whole talk about how these are not separate, and they're like, well, yeah, where are they, me, separate? Yeah, that's a great, so that's a great point.
There isn't a between us because there isn't an us.
And there is, and there is. Yeah, what do you say, Chris? Yeah, where do they
Several
live?
other traditions also have different lists of paramitas.
Yeah,
Theravadan Buddhism has 10 of them, I believe, and but they're all very worthwhile to practice with. And my favorite two are generosity and patience.
mm-hmm,
My good old friend Shantideva taught me that.
mm-hmm.
And generosity, it's when I ordained, which is 15 years ago now, I had this impulse that I had received so much through the generosity of my teachers and my Sangha that I wanted to share that feeling. And so I made the decision then that whenever I would have the impulse to give something, I would. And sometimes that meant that that I would go out with a jacket and come home without one. Or it would be time spent with and for others. And I've been carrying this aspiration to be generous with me. And I keep on practicing it. And it's a practice that I cannot exhaust. I still feel like I'm dabbling on the surface.
That's Chris, yeah. I guess one way to think about it too, Dev, is like, sometimes you can know a thing through its absence, right? You notice, oh, I don't know what happened to the generosity, but I'm very constricted now, right? I don't want to give anything to anybody, so.
It's not it's not always easy,
No,
because one time I had this friend who struggled with depression, and she was a coworker too, and she was this awesome Chinese lady, and I bought a gift for myself because I made it through 6 months at my new job in Santa Cruz, and I bought myself this beautiful jade ring with a silver dragon on it. And as I was walking from the jewelry store to my workplace, I was going, oh, so-and-so would really love this. And I'm going, damn. So I gave it to her. I never got to wear it once.
That's a beautiful story, yeah.
We are conduits.
Yeah.
My thought is how much we're all agents
Mm,
that carry these traits
yeah.
out into the world.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Seems like a really important thing these days to have principles
Yeah.
that steady ourselves and not judge so much of what's going on in the homeless community or other really upsetting
Mm-hmm.
things.
Yeah. Thanks, yeah. That's our beautiful responsibility to show up, yeah.
This is not exactly related to
Yeah,
what you
that's
just
all
said,
good, yeah.
but just kind of a random thing. I was watching a talk like on YouTube, and I think what the teacher said was they say in the end all is well. So if all is well, it must not be the end.
That's nice.
And that kind of gives me some relief.
Yeah.
As to, I think sometimes when you're like compassionate or idealistic, you're like, why is the world a certain way? Why aren't we treating each other and the planet better or differently? But I guess if you let go of like this reality, like it should be like better.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're expecting the glass to be mostly full, and if it's not, you're gonna be upset. But then if you kind of change your expectations,
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of was like a way of like framing it. Or I think it's gonna help me come to peace with
Yeah.
things a bit easier.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. In the end, all is well. So if it's not,
So if all is well, it's not the end.
it's all is well. It's not the end. Yeah,
Expectations.
that's nice. Yeah. Right.
Isn't that an interesting
Yeah,
one that
yeah.
drives so much suffering?
Yeah.
And we had so many expectations about this building, and
Yeah. Huge list.
this
Yeah.
is the wonderful thing, is that it's just so much better.
Better than our expectations.
Yeah, and that's really the way things like this should be. I just feel building is a community activity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Even better than that. Yeah. We're all tight and worried about our expectations, and that's actually limiting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Limiting.
we're not imagining big enough.
We're not going big enough. Yeah. Okay, well let's call that good for now, huh? But I thought I was studying these a little bit this last week, and I thought, this is really good stuff, and I haven't really studied it in a while, so maybe we'll kind of go more deeply into the 6 paramitas over the next year or something. First, Ken has some cool stuff for us this fall, but after that, yeah. Okay, so there's a little closing chant in the book on that same page. See you, Dharma. May our intentions equally extend to every being and place